And we begin this Sunday morning with breaking news from Israel as the war against Hamas terrorists enters a 16th day. This morning, 1,400 Israelis are dead. More than 4,600 Palestinians are dead, including 32 Americans killed. Now, fears are mounting that the war could spread to other parts of the Middle East as Iran continues its terror campaign through proxies. Joining me right now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who sits on both the Senate Foreign Relations and Senate Judiciary Committees. Senator, good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Maria, good morning. Good to be with you.
Let me get your take from a policy perspective, what you can do, what you and your colleagues can do in the face of this bloodshed.
Well, this attack is the worst attack on Israel in 50 years. This is what happened on October 7th. In the early mornings of October 7th is the single largest mass murder of Jews in a day since the Holocaust. And Israel right now is quite rightly responding, and they are responding. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made clear that his objective is to utterly eradicate Hamas. These terrorists, they targeted civilians. They went from home to home to home, going after civilians, deliberately murdering the elderly, murdering women, murdering children. They would murder entire families simply because they were Jewish. They violently raped women and young girls, publicly parading them in the street. They murdered and decapitated and burned alive toddlers and infants. This is horrific, and it is evil what Hamas terrorists have done. Now, going forward, there are several steps for U.S. policy. Number one, we need to cut off the funding that has enabled this attack to happen. And what is so infuriating is that over the last 2.5 years, Joe Biden and the Biden administration have flowed nearly $100 billion to Iran. Understand, Hamas is a proxy for Iran. Without Iran, there would be no Hamas. And the Wall Street Journal has reported that this attack was planned by Iran, was funded by Iran, was directed by Iran, and yet the Biden administration continues to allow billions and billions of dollars to flow to the Ayatollah to be used to murder Israelis and to murder Americans.
That is exactly right, Senator. And right now, we have Iranian sympathizers working within the Biden administration. And that is why I started asking you, what can you do about it? Because these atrocities are continuing. And we have Robert Malley, apparently Biden's chief negotiator in the Iran nuclear talks. We have others that are still working in the administration that have been leading this effort to get the United States back into an Iran deal, leading this effort to, in fact, lower the sanctions, enabling Iran to generate billions in revenue. And what are they doing with the money? They are empowering these terrorists.
Well, and what you just mentioned with Rob Malley remains one of the greatest national security scandals in our nation's history. So Rob Malley was Joe Biden's chief negotiator for Iran. He's an incredible Iran sympathizer. He is an advocate, a passionate advocate for the disastrous Obama-Iran nuclear deal. But he also has extraordinarily bad judgment. He's been fired. He's had his security clearances stripped, which I want you to pause and think, just how bad does his conduct have to be to have his security clearances pulled by this ideological and radical White House? But we now know also that, among other things, 3 of Rob Malley's top advisors, his inner circle, that he relied on, were Iranian operatives. They were recruited by the government of Iran. They were directed by the Iranian foreign minister. They reported to the Iranian foreign minister. We have their emails now in which they discuss. One of them discusses with the foreign minister that his loyalties are with the government of Iran, and he is there to do whatever they direct, including making the message from within the federal government that there's nothing wrong with Iran having a nuclear stockpile. You literally had 3 Iranian spies working in senior positions directly around the U.S. government. One of them, as far as we know, remains a chief of staff in the Department of Defense to this day with access to classified documents. And yet the corporate media cannot be brought to mention that 3 Iranian spies were brought into senior levels of government with access to classified materials while working directly for Iran, the same Iran that just murdered 31 Americans and 1,400 Israelis, the same Iran directed by an Ayatollah who regularly leads mobs chanting, "Death to America and death to Israel."
And we knew this, Senator. I mean, we knew that while they were negotiating on the Iran deal. The Ayatollah was saying death to America at that time. And this administration continued to pursue. Why?
You know, they have an ideological obsession. Number one, their approach to every enemy of America is appeasement. And that's true whether it's Russia, that's true whether it's China, that's true whether it's North Korea, that's true whether it's Venezuela, that's true whether it's Iran. Their response, I got to tell you, they have taught our enemies that the worse they are, the more money Joe Biden will give you. You know, I mentioned the $100 billion, and it's worth focusing on that for a moment. A lot of folks now are talking about the $6 billion. The $6 billion got a lot of coverage, that the Biden administration spent $6 billion that was essentially ransom money to free 5 American hostages. Now, at the time that happened, I said publicly, many others said publicly, this is terrible policy. You're effectively putting a bounty on the heads of Americans. You're telling bad guys, we'll pay you $1.2 billion a person for every American hostage that you have. And I predicted at the time, our enemies will take more American hostages, and Iran, because of this bounty, will take more American hostages. They now have roughly 200 Israeli hostages and about a dozen American hostages. So I'm sorry to say that prediction came through within weeks. But that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the money that went to Iran. Before the $6 billion, the Biden administration sent $10 billion that went from Iraq to Iran. And the biggest pot of money deals with the refusal of the Biden administration to enforce oil sanctions. U.S. law puts tough oil sanctions on Iran. Biden came in, immediately stopped enforcing them. Today, Iran is selling 2 million barrels a day of oil. That has produced $80 billion, roughly, in revenue. That is funding these Hamas death squads. That is funding the rockets. That is funding terrorism. And the Biden administration, something that he could do today. He gave a speech last week. You know what was not in the speech? Saying we're going to enforce the oil sanctions and we're going to cripple the Iranian regime and take away their money. That's still Joe Biden and the Democrats have still proven unwilling to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it was just stunning to me to understand the fact that while this administration was actually negotiating to pay money for those hostages, the Iranians were actually planning on taking more hostages. And that is exactly what they did. Yeah. They unfroze the money. They went in, and Hamas went in and took more hostages. That is exactly what happened. I want to get your take on what happens with Jack Lew. Last week, your committee heard the hearing of the former Treasury Secretary under President Obama. He wants to be the next ambassador to Israel. Is it going to pass?
Well, I don't know. I think he's a terrible choice. I think you will see Republicans voting against him. The question is, does every Democrat vote party line? And they might. Jack Lew was the Treasury Secretary under Barack Obama. He was one of the critical point people for negotiating and implementing the Obama-Iran nuclear deal. Jack Lew played a critical point in flowing over $100 billion to Iran. That was catastrophically stupid then. It hurt American interest. It cost American lives. And now Joe Biden has taken the appeasement of Barack Obama towards Iran, has taken it to another level, and he wants to put as the point person for the administration in Israel someone who has funded in a very real way the death squads that are attacking Israel. I think that's a mistake. In ordinary times, I think there'd be a reasonable chance that some Democrats would say, look, this is a bad choice, and would vote no. Right now, the White House is saying, well, if you support Israel, you got to give us an ambassador there. I think it'd be great to have an ambassador there. It'd be even better to have an ambassador there who isn't responsible for funding the theocratic lunatics who are murdering your citizens, and to have an ambassador there who hasn't implemented policies for years that undermine the state of Israel. We need to support Israel, not undermine Israel and fund their enemies.
All right. Real quick on the package that the president is asking. He wants to tie the money together, the money going to Israel as well as money going to Ukraine. He's talking about humanitarian aid for the Palestinians as well. What about that package? Will it pass?
I think it's a big mistake. I don't know if it'll pass. But what the Biden White House is doing and what Chuck Schumer is doing is deeply cynical. Israel military aid is enormously popular. There's big bipartisan support for Israel military aid. He's taking the popularity of supporting Israel and he's holding it hostage. The hostages are not just being held by Hamas. The hostages are also being held by the Biden White House because he's taking Israel and saying you can have Israel military aid if you pass everything I want on Ukraine, if you pass Biden's funding. He calls it border security funding. What it really is funding to accelerate illegal immigration, to have more buses and more planes taking illegal immigrants to every city in America. And if you pass all of his priorities, it's a Christmas tree, then you can have Israel funding. What we ought to do is we ought to vote on a clean Israel funding bill that provides the military aid they need, the weapons, the ammunition, the additional munitions for Iron Dome and David Sling and Arrow 2 and 3, the missile defense systems. If we voted on that, it would pass overwhelmingly. And I think Joe Biden and the Democrats need to stop playing games with Israel funding. And you mentioned also, Maria, the funding for Gaza. This has been another indefensible step of this administration. Joe Biden has already sent hundreds of millions of dollars for Gaza. I led 17 senators saying, do not send that money because it will go to Hamas and they will use it for terrorism. 145 Democrat congressmen sent a letter saying, do send that money, despite the fact that it will go to terrorism. And we now know the Biden administration assessed the matter and they agreed with me. They concluded that there was, quote, a high likelihood this money would go to Hamas and be used for terrorism. And then you know what they did? They waived U.S. anti-terrorism law, and they sent the money anyway. And what does Biden want to do now? Send more money to Gaza that will go to Hamas, that will be used to fund terrorism. It's the only thing they know how to do, funding terrorists, and it's a very, very bad idea.
Senator, we will be watching your work. It is an upcoming important week. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.